Hi, my name is Stacy Silva Boutwell and I am the Portuguese American Mom. Today we are going to make baked beans from my cookbook, Easy Portuguese Cookbook. We are going into fall and winter, and there's no better comfort food than Portuguese baked beans coming out of the oven. You can make this the day before and put it in the oven the day of if you don't have time. It is a long recipe. As easy as it is, it does take time. So let's get started. I have some soaked beans here. These are navy beans, and honestly, I didn't get to soak them overnight. They've been soaking for like an hour, which probably isn't enough for the whole soaking process to take place, but that's okay. As soon as you get them, put them in, and then you just boil them a little bit longer. I never think to do it the night before. If you think to do it the night before, great. If you don't, no worries. So we have a small white bean here. This is a navy bean. There's also beans that are literally called small white beans. That's fine. And if you have a larger white bean, use a larger white bean. White beans are the preferred bean for the dish. No matter what size they definitely are the preferred bean for the dish. They get a little more tender, they get a little more squishy, and they're delicious. Okay, so we have these beans. They have been rinsed and they are sitting in water. To this pot of beans and water, you do not, I repeat, you do not want to add salt at this point. Salt makes beans tough. So you want to skip that for now. We will add some later though. We're not going to have a flavorless dish. So we're going to add in a diced onion. This is a medium diced onion, so I cut it all up already, but see, this is a little big for my taste because this is just a 16-ounce bag of beans. Now, growing up, we never made this dish without splitting it in two. So we would double the beans. That onion would be perfect. We would double the beans. Half of the recipe would become soup and the other half would become baked beans. And it was always, they just went hand in hand because it's exactly the same recipe. It's just the finish that changes. So today we're gonna make the baked beans. Another day we'll make the soup and we'll all be good. So we're gonna add in a medium diced onion. Then we are gonna add some garlic. So you're gonna take the garlic. You want to remember that when you're making this dish, you are not actually going to fish things out. So this isn't like a stock. You're not making a stock right now. You're actually making the dish. So you don't want to just like roughly chop things and kind of put it in haphazardly. You do actually want to put things in the way that you want them finished, okay? So I'm just gonna dice up, I'm gonna mince up my garlic clove so that I don't have giant chunks of garlic going throughout my dish. They will boil down, so you don't have to be crazy about it, but you do want to make sure that you have them ready to go. I'm gonna pop that into the pot. So now we have the beans, the water, the onion, the garlic, and then we are going to add in some uncured bacon. So this is just literally slab bacon that has not been smoked, it's not been cured. It is providing us with the meat, a little bit, but mainly this fat here. That's what we want to flavor the beans, and anything that you want flavor-wise other than the salt, this is a good time to put it in because it really soaks up. As the beans tenderize, they really soak up all the flavor of what you're trying to get to. So we're gonna put in a few pieces of this tocinho, which is what we call it in Portuguese. The uncured bacon is gonna go in there. And then we are gonna take a piece of chorizo. So chorizo is very well flavored. It has lots of delicious flavors in it, and we want that to get into our beans. So what I'm doing here is I'm just scoring the chorizo, and we're gonna pop it in. Later on, we're gonna cut this up for the dish, but right now we just wanna release the flavor into the beans. So we're gonna put this over, and you wanna make sure, as you're putting this on the stovetop, that you have enough water. If you don't have enough water, you're not gonna have a very successful bean boiling, right? You wanna make sure that as you are getting these beans going, you get them to a boil, you let them simmer then with a lid on. So we're gonna take a lid, we're gonna put them on, we're gonna put it on top, Bring it to a boil, and then we're gonna simmer for a good 3 to 4 hours. We really want tender beans here. We don't want to depend on the oven to cook and tenderize the beans. We want that all going. What we depend on the oven for is then to give us a creamy consistency of our beans. We have boiled the beans at this point, so let's take a look at what they look like. So, yeah, they've even cooled a little bit, so I can actually lift the pot. They're still pretty warm in there, but my handles aren't bad. All right, let's take this off. Let's take a look. So we've got the chorizo has split even more. As you can see, it's cooked. And then we have some really tender beans. As you can see, all the shells of the beans have split open. That's exactly what we're looking for. When we squeeze one, it squeezes right out. That is a nice tender bean, and it's gonna lead to a really creamy consistency, which is what we're looking for. I'm gonna move this over a little bit so I have some room to work. And then I just have a 9 by 13 baking dish here. I'm hoping it's not too big for what I'm trying to do with one package of beans. Remember, I'm used to using 2 packages of beans and splitting it, but I think we're okay. So we're gonna take all of the beans out, and we're gonna add in the water, a little bit of the water, so that it can continue. You see the toasting here, that bacon. That's gonna continue to do its job while it's baking. So we're gonna take this out, and we're gonna move it over here, and I'm gonna take that chorizo out actually, to just let it cool a little bit, because it is pretty hot. I'm gonna let it cool down so that I can handle it, because we're gonna be slicing that up. All right, and if you don't have a handy dandy scoop like this, a colander, a sieve, whatever you would like, just make sure that you do not get rid of all this water, because that water is nice and starchy, and you need that starchiness to help you along with the creaminess of this dish. All right, let's clear ourselves some space, and we are gonna take this chorizo. I like to peel my chorizo. I just don't like the toughness of the skin. If you can't find chorizo linguiça, you can always order this online from Portuguese Marketplace in Fall River. They ship it right out to you. Chorizo is not exactly the same. You could use it in a pinch. It will be, some chorizos are more smoky than this. It just lends a different flavor. But you do really need the chorizo or something with this flavor profile. So we're just gonna slice this up. You want nice thin slices, because everybody wants a little piece of chorizo in their bite. And we're gonna take this and just kind of sprinkle it. We're gonna be mixing this, so no worries. To this, we're gonna add some pimenta moída. And this is we're gonna add a good couple of tablespoons, maybe even 3 tablespoons of pimenta moída. This is a ground pepper. It is not super spicy. I take out all the seeds. If you watch the tutorial I have on my website, my dad does this exact one actually. He takes out the pepper seeds so that it's not so spicy, and grinds it up, and then you salt it so it's like a nice salty pepper. Right? And then we already have, remember, our bacon. If you don't have the chance to get to the market, or you can't find uncured bacon, or your butcher just doesn't have the slab bacon, you can use regular bacon. I've done that plenty of times in the past. Just chop it up. It'll be a little thinner, but it'll go throughout your dish and it'll be delicious. We're gonna add to this a little bit of white pepper. Okay. Some tomato sauce. I did not have a can of regular tomato sauce, so I just took fire roasted diced tomatoes and I ground them in my food processor. So I'm gonna put about half a cup, 2/3 of a cup into my beans. Then I'm gonna use Portuguese allspice. Portuguese allspice, there is a recipe for it in my cookbook. It's based with paprika, some orange peel, some turmeric. There are lots of things that go into Portuguese allspice. This is not regular allspice that you use in baking, so please don't get the two confused. But Portuguese allspice, again, you can also order this at Portuguese Marketplace online, so that's an easy place to go and get things. And then, as promised, we are adding the salt. So we want to get a good amount. We haven't added any salt, so we want to get a good tablespoon of kosher salt in here. Now at this point we are going to mix. Before I add in any more of the liquid, I want to see how liquidy it is. I know that if I put this in without any liquid, what's going to happen is these beans are just going to turn dry, and we don't want dry beans. We want nice creamy beans that come out of the oven in, you'll see that they kind of congeal almost. So I see that I do have some liquid here, but it's not enough for me. I feel like this still needs like a good cup, half cup. Let's take a look. Let's see what we're gonna do. And I don't know if there's any beans left in here. I doubt it, but we'll see. Oh, there are a few. So we're gonna try and get whatever's left in here out. Make sure that we have, yeah. I think that did it. Okay, so we're gonna add a good half cup to 3/4 of a cup of liquid. This is kind of what you want. You want this consistency. You want it to look stewy, not soupy, but stewy. So if you were gonna eat this, you would consider this a stew, not a soup, okay? This is gonna mostly evaporate in the oven, which is good. We're gonna put this in the oven at 400 degrees we're gonna start with an hour and see how it goes. That's why I'm saying at this point, if at this point you wanted to make this the day before, you take some cling wrap, put it over the top, put it in your fridge. If you want to then take it out the next day, take it out like an hour before you put it into the oven, and then pop it in the oven, and then you're just cooking for that 1 hour. So say you have a party coming and you don't feel like doing all of what I just did, then do it the day before. At this stage, then you put it into the oven. You really don't want to bake it up, roast it before the day before. I like it fresh. Don't get me wrong, it's delicious leftover, but if you're going to be serving it to guests, you do want to have it kind of fresh. So at this stage, you put it away, you bring it back out, and then you bake it off. Now I'm going to take this baking dish and I'm going to put it in the oven, and we are going to bake it for about an hour. We're going to check it and see how it is after that hour at 400 degrees. Oh, look! They've absorbed all of that water. All of that cooking liquid has been absorbed into these delicious looking beans. Pop these up here and let them cool down a little bit.